So, hello guys, and welcome to a new second international episode here at the Women's Bodybuilding Podcast. And today I have a special guest for you, IFBB Pro from UK, Meg Sylvester. So, welcome Meg to a German podcast today, and thank you that you're here.
Thank you.
So for all the ones and all of those who don't know you, maybe you can briefly introduce yourself, who you are, what are you doing, and where do you come to bodybuilding?
So I'm Meg Sylvester. I'm an IFBB Pro figure competitor. I actually won my pro card in the bikini division back in 2018 and then have done a long off season to transition over from bikini to figure. That's kind of a nutshell about the way that I kind of got into bodybuilding. Was I was actually an ex GB diver, so I dived in Great Britain. I know what it is in German, so it's Wasserspringen.
I think it calls in translation Turmspringen.
Oh, there we go. I tried. I started jumping, but yeah. Anyway, so that's what I did before. I then retired from that due to dislocating my shoulder twice.
Okay.
And decided to go to the gym because I wanted to stay fit. And then the person who owned the gym that I went to told me that I should try bodybuilding or a bodybuilding competition. And then that's how bodybuilding came along.
Cool. So you went to the gym your first time to want to be fit. And how long are you training since you to prep or to preparation for your first competition? How long do you train?
So I should have waited a lot longer. So I was actually training for around 3 months before I went into my first ever prep. I think having the knowledge that I have now, and if I was around the same people that I am now back then, I wouldn't have competed or prepped for a competition just then. I didn't look bad, but I didn't look how I would probably have wanted to look for my first competition. I would have done a nice off season, built myself up, especially my food. I wish I could have built up my food and then gone into a competition prep.
Okay, great. So, and you get your pro card as a bikini girl. So, and now you want to compete in or do your pro debut in a figure class. So, what is your? I have to ask a question otherwise. Was it your goal from the beginning of bodybuilding to compete in the future in the figure class, or was it not planned?
When I first started, I loved the look of figure because the girl that you had on before from the UK, Ria, she's my best friend, and we've been best friends since we were 11 years old, I think it was. So we used to dive together, and I loved the way that she looked. So yes, I would say that figure has always been my goal because I like muscles, and I think that kind of figures the next step up from bikini. At the time when I first started, obviously bikini was more feasible just because I was quite small. But I've always loved the look of figure. Back in 2017, when I was going into my off season, I did have the idea of going into figure, but my coach at the time told me that I should stay in bikini. So that's what I did. And then obviously when I won my pro card, we decided that my shape would grow a little bit more towards the figure shape, rather than the bikini shape. So that's why I did that. But I actually did a pro shirt in bikini as well. I won my pro card in 2018 in the October. And then the night that I won my pro card, there was actually a bikini pro show.
Oh, okay.
So I competed there, came 9th.
That's good.
Yeah, I think there's 23 girls there as well. So
Wow.
it wasn't small. So yeah, so came ninth there, and then obviously now it's my pro figure debut, or well, my first ever figure competition. I haven't got any expectations for this year at all. It's just about going and see where I stand, because I still need to put a lot on to be competitive.
Yeah, of course. So your first pro show and figure is in Alicante, right?
Yeah. We had the idea of going to America. Obviously, COVID happened, and now we can't go.
The struggle is real. So, but you're competing together with your husband, Cuba, right?
Partner. Well, we are engaged, but
yeah,
we'll be married maybe next or the year after, because Corona has obviously messed up those plans well. So yeah, we will compete together. Yeah.
It was the first time that you're competing together, or was in the past that you're competing two different times?
So in 2018, we both competed in the Two Bros Amateur Olympia together. And then we both actually went to Alicante and won our pro cards on the same weekend.
Amazing.
Which was really fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you think it is lighter, or it's difficult to do a prep together with a partner, or do you think it is easier to prep together?
I think that sometimes it's hard because you both become very quiet and don't talk too much, but then it's also a positive because you understand the way that the other person feels. And I think it's always nice to be in the same situation where, yes, you can both go out for food together in the off season, and then in prep, obviously you can't. So it's nice to do it at the same time, just so that you can be on the journey together, because I think it would really, I guess people are different, but I feel like it'd push you apart a little bit if one of you's in prep, one of you's in off, and it's always the other way around. I think it's nice to be able to do it together. It works well for us anyway, so the people are different.
Yeah, that's true. So my husband and I, we are competing together too. So, and for us, it's easier to compete together or to do a prep together, because if he is in the off season and I'm in prep, so it's sometimes a little bit difficult, but it's okay. But it's so much, how do you saying it? It's so much easier and a bigger motivation towards each other, to support each other if we are both together in prep. So I prefer it too. Yeah. Cool. So how many weeks are till now to Alicante? I think 4 weeks?
No, 6.
6 weeks. So do you have a special goal to Alicante, or would you only to go to Alicante and say everything what happens is okay?
Yeah, everything that happens is okay. I believe because there's now 3 Olympia qualifications there, I think that there's going to be a lot of girls there. And looking at the American shows, I think there was 30 pro figure girls on the Tampa stage, I think it was.
Or there was a lot, on Tampa.
So I'm thinking that there's going to be a lot of girls. So if I could come top 10, I would be really, really happy. But it just depends on who is there on the day, because if it's a massive class, then I think that might be a little bit of a stretch.
But it is your goal in the future to stand up at the Olympia stage together with Rhea in one class then?
Oh, I'd love it. Yeah, because we're both meeting in the Alicante show now, so it'll be really nice to get on stage with her. But it would be lovely to go to the Olympia. The goal is either Olympia 2021 or Olympia 2022. That's the aim, and hopefully we can do that together, because it'd be a really lovely experience to do together.
Yeah, together as a friendship, and to stand together on a stage, and to be, you are together, you are in the same class, and you will be standing together in one division. I think it's a very new experience for a friendship too.
Yeah, definitely, because
Sure.
we're not competitive at all, because at the end of the day, I look very different to what Ria
Yeah.
does. We both grow in very, very different ways. So we can't be competitive, and at the end of the day, it's up to the judges. It's a very subjective sport that one day some judges may prefer my look, another day judges may prefer her look. So
Yeah.
we support each other to be the best that we can be.
That's amazing. That's good. So how actually looks your prep? So how often do you training? Are you doing cardio? So can you tell a little bit about your prep
Yeah,
in the moment?
yeah. So I've been on prep now for 18 weeks.
Okay.
And at the moment, no direct cardio, just doing steps. I managed to build up my food quite high in off season, that we've been able to utilize that more than actually doing any extra cardio, which has obviously been great because I get to put a little bit more into my sessions. In terms of training, it's depending on how my split falls, it's like 4 or 5 times a week that I actually train, but just once in that day. And like I said, no cardio, just the steps. And I use my dogs to do the steps, who are just having
Oh, yeah.
she's out.
Yeah, my dog's sitting upstairs here too. But cardio with the dog it's the best cardio.
Yeah, it is, yeah, because they can enjoy it as well.
Oh, yes, that's true. So if you say your cardio are also to doing a lot of steps on the day, do you know how many steps do you have a goal from your steps per day?
So my goal is 12,000 on rest days and 15,000 on training days. I'm trying to make sure that I just stick to that, because I'm quite an active person.
Yeah.
And I do quite a lot of stepping anyway. So I try to keep it to that, but sometimes it goes a little bit over.
Okay, great. So you're saying you're training 4 out of 5 times per week. So what is your split? Do you splitting your leg day, or do you rotation your training days per week, or do you have special training days like on Monday every time you're training back, or what it looks like?
So I do the same as Cuba and the same as the majority on the Train by JP team. So
yeah,
I do push, pull, off, legs, off, and then repeat that. So
okay.
Sometimes it's 4 times that I train in a week, and sometimes it's 5.
Okay, so rotation. So if it works for you and for you in Cuba, that will be fine. So
Yeah.
I'm watching every video from you, Cuba, all the videos on the JP side. So I think since the last two, I think since the last 2 or 3 years, and now there are so many cool guys from you who come to JP, and on the side like AJ.
Yes,
That's amazing. Yeah.
yeah. We're me and Cuba are very good friends with AJ, so it's a fun little place to be at the gym at the moment, with everybody competing there. So
Yeah. So, and you can train all together right now in the gym. Your gyms are open now since the last few weeks. So
yeah,
I think,
it's been reopened on the 24th of July.
yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, they were closed for a very long time.
Yeah. We don't, here in Germany, the gyms are closed, I think, for only 3 months, 2 or 3 months. So, but it was hard enough too. So we don't have a very good home gym. I have doing a lot of outdoor workouts. So we have to do the best thing in this time.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I don't know why they closed the gyms, but they did.
Yeah, so just happened. You're also a online coach, or you're coaching a lot of girls. Do you only coaching girls or boys too?
I've helped a couple of men now, but majority of the people that work with me or that come to me are
Yeah.
female. I think it's because I put out there my experiences with and eating and different things. So I think that some people can, well, women can definitely, they get it.
Do you think for a girl who looks for a coach, it is a girl have to prefer to look for a coach who's a girl, or do you think that makes no difference if I will be the coach who's a girl or a man?
I think it's just very person dependent. I think that it depends what that female would prefer to work with. Sometimes females have bad experiences with male coaches that we've found out about. Other females don't. Like I've had a really good, I guess that Pat Cooper is my partner, but I think that I like to work with him. So I think it's just very person dependent. A few of the girls that I have on board really wanted a female coach rather than a male coach. I just, like I said, I think that it just depends on what that person wants, really.
Yeah, of course. So what do you think is the biggest difference between to work with a girl or boy? So girls are, I would say so many girls are in some points the working with girls a little bit harder, or not harder, I think a little bit difficult with some much problems. I think it's hard to ask a question, but I think you know what I mean.
We have a lot more estrogen in our bodies. Our females. So I guess that around the time of the month, we become very moody. We're a lot more emotional than most males, just because of the types of hormones that we have in our body. So that makes us kind of, I'm the same. We can be very much like a roller coaster, where men can be, but they're generally just on like a bit of a flat line. And the way that they are is the way that they are. But because of our time of the month or anything else that can happen, we can be very up and down. So I think that it's very different, probably coaching men, females. So hats off to all men that put up with ladies.
It's true.
You can both agree with that, being female.
Yeah. Do you make in your prep or in a diet plan with girls in the time in the month look the diet plan a little bit different, or would you say just do the diet strict all of the months, all of the year, all of the time, or is there a difference?
So time of the month, no, I wouldn't really change anything. I know that cravings are a lot higher when it is around that time, and I know that the females that I work with, especially who are in off season, have an off plan meal each week. If some of them have two, and with that, I know that some of them do make sure that if it's around the time of the month that they put in their free meal around that, just so that it kind of keeps their cravings at bay. But once you've kind of been on a set plan and a set routine for a long time, I feel like it really does help around the time of the month as well, because your body's in that routine that the majority of females that I work with, that I have been working for a long time, it doesn't affect their training. It doesn't really make them crave anymore. If anything, they just feel a little bit away from training, a little bit more tired. But I think that people that are like new to it do find it a little bit harder around the time of the month.
Yeah, of course. So do you prefer a carb cycling, or do you think it is better for girls to doing a carb cycling, or to have on rest days more calories or more carbs?
So with everybody that I work with and myself, really, I generally reduce the calories that they have on a rest day, but I eat fats. And then with training days, I go with like more carbs, just because carbs are energy, and on a training day you need those, and you are going to utilize those, whereas on a rest day, expenditure is high, so you won't need that. But as females, we need fats to make us healthy, like I said, with the time, everything like that, and for us to help us function well as a female. So that's why I put them in there. Okay,
great. So I think this is a big difference between girls and boys, because some men doing on the rest days, they need more carbs to recover and for the muscle ups. So I think this is one of the biggest difference from a diet or from the food, the food plan from girls and boys, or?
Yeah, like they'll have a lot more carbs than us anyway on a and then on a rest day Kuba's very similar to me, to be fair. He still has carbs in his rest days, but it's still not as much as in his training days. And then he does higher fats as well on his rest days.
Cool. So now we have talked about girls' diet and food. So I think you know the problem, I know the problem, and so many other girls know the problem, especially after the first competition, that they have a lot of struggle with food, what I can eat, can eat this, or the problem to strictly do the diet after a competition. So do you have experience with these problems, and what are you doing with these problems, especially with other girls?
Yeah, so when I first started competing, like I said at the beginning, I rushed into a competition. So calories weren't super high before I started prep. And then obviously, because you have to reduce food to get lean, ended up really quite low calories. I think that on a training day it was like 1,100, and on rest days it was like 800.
Wow.
So it was really low. Obviously this time very different, managed to build up food quite high, and I found that even towards the end of my prep, I've not actually had to reduce food too much, and also because expenditure, because I'd stayed so lean in the off, from kind of recomping with body composition, doing the mini cuts and then pushing back up again. I started prep in a very good place, in a body composition wise as well. So I think that when it comes to females or any competitor really, with your first competition, I think it's really important that you do get on with a coach. Because the knowledge and experiences that they can pass off onto you are really valuable. And if you are on with a good coach, I think that they will recommend to you that it's very important to do an off season first, where you do build up calories quite high, where you do make sure that your body composition is in a really good place to actually start a prep. And I think that then puts people in a much better position come prep time, so that calories and everything calories don't have to go too high, and calories don't have to go so low, and doesn't have to go too high. I think that if you do it the right way, you'll still find per show not difficult, difficult, but I think that you find it much easier to manage than if you rush into a prep or start in a really bad place, if you are carrying a lot of weight and you are going to have to chip everything off. Even if calories are high, food's going to have to go really low. So I think that if you have a really good off season and start prep in a really good place and have a real good wealth of knowledge with a coach, I think that you'll find per show a lot easier to manage. And then after your competition, just making sure that you've got a plan in place, of what plan you need to go on to. Just making sure that is structured as well, because I think that if you are going to compete again, that first initial part after a competition is possibly the most important part, to take a little, a week or so off from training, just to get your body back refreshed, and then utilizing the food when you do go back into training. I think it's the point where your body does actually respond really well. That as much as prep is very important if you do want to compete again, or if you want to be in a really good place mentally after your competition, even if you're not going to, I think that per is possibly one of the most important parts to get.
Yeah, that's true. I see so many girls, or not girls, every athlete and competitor after the first show or after first show, first season, they go from the stage, eat a lot of food, and I think it's okay to eat something that you want to eat after a competition. But I think it's also important, like that, what you're saying, it's to look that you come a little bit step by step to your calories and going a little bit higher. And so many athletes, and that's my experience here in Germany, what we know, that so many goes from one coach to another coach. So the competition is over, they don't get the first place or not the place that they want to, and they say, okay, my coach doesn't do the best work, so I have to look for another one. And after the competition, they have no plan what to do, eat a lot of food and not the right food, and don't come to a good level from the calories step by step. And so many girls, especially girls, have a lot of struggle to, if they have no coach, have a lot of struggle to come back to the right way to eat, and to come to the right way to have a strict plan and a diet, or to do the re-dieting.
Yeah, the reverse out of a competition.
Reverse dieting, yes.
Yeah. It's I think that the most important thing that people do need to remember is that food is always going to be there.
Mm.
You don't have to cram everything into that first week, or you don't have to cram everything into the night that you've competed, have like a lot of the food that you've been hoarding. I think it's just really important to remember that the food is always going to be there. Just take it step by step, as hard as it can be. When cravings are quite high, and for females, like we were saying before, it's a lot harder because of the estrogen that we do have in our bodies. The cravings are generally a little bit higher than men anyway. So I just think it's a very important part of the process, the per, especially for regaining cycle as well, because body can become a little bit more messed up if you are really low on calories and then start binging afterwards. Your whole hormone cycle and everything become a little bit confused. So it's just very important, because as much as you can compete in a healthy way, taking calories low and getting to stage lean probably isn't super healthy anyway. So the best you can do per show is probably gonna give you a good standpoint for the rest of your life, really.
So you have say the right word that I have to ask, of binge eating from some girls. Do you have some girls or experience with girls who have problems or to have a lot of binging? And I think that's a thing who not everyone talk about. If girls are binging, I think that's a thing no one wants to talk about. And I think that's a very, very big problem, and a very big problem that we have to talk about. Do you have any tips, or what are you doing with girls who have rightly this problem, and this girl want to compete? So I think it's very hard to find a good way with girls who have the problem with food and to binge a lot, or to have and to want to compete.
I think initially, if you've got someone who's come to you and they explain that they've had a bad per-show, or that they binge, it's really important that calories just go super high, regardless of how big they are, or if they are holding kind of the excess weight. It's really important that calories go really high initially, just so that they can actually stick to a set structure. Because in the long run, even if their food is super high and but they can stick to the structure, you'll find that their body recomps naturally anyway, even with the extra weight. But it's just important to what they'll do on a day-to-day basis is think about food constantly, and it's really important to get them to the point where they're not thinking about it anymore, to the point where they actually can't eat all of the things on their plan and it's making them sick, because then you get to a point where you can then go into a cut where you know that they're just ready for it, and they know that food is just going to be there once they've actually got to that point. I've had a lot of girls that come to me that, I don't know how to say it, that have had coaches before that even in the off season their food has been really really low, and they find that they are fixating on food and that they can't stick to plan. They are binging, or they're having where they're going to the point where they're feeling sick when they're eating. And when those girls come with me as well, it's just very important to put them on a really high food plan, regardless of what they look like, because it's really important to get their food habits under control. Lots of people say that a food plan is not a good way to make people be better binging, but I think that structure and routine in every aspect of life is really important for us as human beings. So it will help us be more productive, and if anything, everybody wants to be successful in life. So if you are kind of on a set structure or a set routine, I think it will help. There is a time to be social, and that's where the off-plan meals come in. But yeah, if somebody comes with binging or cravings or anything like that is quite bad, it's just important to get food super, super high.
Okay, food super high and a very strict structure in the day. Do you also think it's important for girls with this problem that they have a control with checkups with you? So are you doing regular checkups, maybe every week or every 2 weeks? Checkup that you to look the physique and how the weights are going. Are you doing this too, or do you think, okay, that's another one for another time?
So with off season, generally it's one check in a week. And then with people that are on a mini cut or on a competition prep, it's twice a week. Then when you come close to competition, like I've got a girl at the moment, Anya, who's checking in with me every day, just so that everything's running how it needs to be. And then the girls that come to me with these said problems with binging, they do it twice a week as well. And with the way that I work, I pretty much speak to most of my girls every day anyway, because they send me their training videos as well. But the ones that do have the problems, I will check in on them pretty much every day just to check that everything is okay, and that we are sticking to plan.
Okay, great. I think that's a very good answer. Who every girl can, give it us maybe a tip for everyone. So thank you for that.
No problem.
I have some questions via Instagram. So I think some of these we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Just a second. Yeah. What has been a lesson to you have learned over the last years in bodybuilding and in your competition time?
In terms of what? Anything?
I think the question is for anything. Okay. So I think in bodybuilding and prep and competition, yeah.
So if there's one thing that I've learned with competition prep, it's that, like I said before, that an off season is a very important part to the journey. I think that many people rush from season to season where they don't manage to actually have an off season. I think it's very important for, especially males as well, if you really want to progress your body, the time to do that is when food is high. and that is obviously in the off season. So I think that it's very important for either a first time competitor or a competitor that's along their journey that they do take a good long off season to be able to actually bring something different to the stage next time, because you don't want to look the same each time you get on stage. I think it's very important that you do have the off season. That's the most important thing I think that I've learned.
Yeah. So, team of the off season, do you think how long should be our off season? I think we have competition all the whole year. So do you think 6 months are okay, or what, especially from your experience, do you think 1 year is better than only or 2 years, or what is your preference?
I think it just depends on what the person looks like. I don't know. It again, it's very person dependent.
Yeah.
So I think that if it's a first time competitor that's come to you as a coach, have a look at what they look like, and maybe do a little bit of an off season, a bit of a cut, just to see what's underneath the fat, and then make a call as to how long you reckon you should push a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Like myself, from going from the kind of bikini division to the figure division, I had to take the full competitive season off to actually make sure that I could get enough muscle on there to actually look like a figure competitor. I'm not saying that people will need to take as long as I did, but if you are wanting to transition from one class to another, I do think it's very important to take a good amount of time off. I just think it's very person dependent.
Yeah, but I think, like that you said, if you're switching from from figure to bikini, from bikini to figure, or from figure to physique, I think you need a lot of more time to get more muscles, to change your physique. So I think that took more than only 6 months.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely would say that anything above 4 months for most people is very important, because people do seem it takes a good you need to reverse out of your competition well. So it takes a good 3 months to 4 months to actually reverse out of the competition properly, to get your body to the point where it's functioning really well. And then I think that you do need a few months after that at least, to make the kind of extra progress that you need to make. So yeah, I do think that majority of people do need a lot longer than what they do take.
Yeah, of course. So there's a good question after that, for off season. What is for you the biggest goal or the important thing in your off season or off season from other ones? Do you think it's important to have a very good shape in off season, or it's okay, especially for girls, to get a little bit more weight on, or
it's so important that females do not stay lean in off season. Like, a lot of people saw me and said that I stayed quite lean for off season. I really didn't. Like, I was a good 10 to 12 kilos over my stage weight for the most of my off season. I think it's very important for that. A good 20 pounds or 10 kg above stage weight, I think, is a really optimal place for females to make that progress. For males, it's a little bit different. But it's also very important that, like, your fattest body part on stage just doesn't go too fat in the off season, because you need to be able to perform well. And I think that if you go past a certain weight or a certain look, it's not optimal for growth. So I think it's just, I think it's important that females do push that boundary a little bit more than what males do. Just make sure that you can have your cycle, because a lot of females in competition prep lose their cycles. So I think it's very important from a health standpoint that females do push that boundary a little bit more. But for me, with my girls with off season, it's to stay around 10 kg above my stage weight. maybe a few kilos more. And then, the other girls are really performance girls. I really like to get strong in the off season, so that becomes more of a focus point than actual anything else.
Yeah. So if your goals are in off season to get stronger, so do you want to perform also good in your prep, that you don't lose your strength?
Yeah, definitely. Like, there comes a time, like now, on some movements, I what's the word? I'm kind of sticking at a level because I become injured as well. Because if I injure myself, it'll be harder for me to pose, and that's a really important part of your competing journey when you are actually going to compete, that you can pose. So there's certain movements that we aren't pushing too much, or there's some movements that we've swapped out just to do certain movements that are a little bit less injury risk. So yeah, the goal in prep is to stay as strong as when in off season. And even though we swapped out some movements, I've managed to keep up my strength. So yeah.
Okay. So I think today you posted on Instagram that your goal is to get stronger and stronger, but to perform. At first, you want to perform the weight as the best you can do, and then to put more weight on it.
Form is the most important part, and the tempo when doing those movements. So you need to make sure that it's slow, that there's real good mind to muscle connection, that you are performing that movement with the most precise form, because if you do it with incorrect form, you are just going to put so much pressure and load on your joints, not on your actual muscle. Whereas if you perform it correctly, with time under tension, with your exercises, you will make for good muscle growth. So yeah, form and tempo is the most important part. But like with everybody on the Train by JP team, like you, a part of the site, we all train with progressive overload. And the first thing that you learn before you start to train with progressive overload is form and tempo, because that is the most important part. And then you can start to progress it with the weight.
Yeah. Like JP would say, you don't have to train with a shitty form.
Yes. And he tells us off if any of us do perform anything bad.
Yeah. So I've got two other questions, two different questions, and this question also get rare. And what are your goals in the next 5 years in bodybuilding?
Next 5 years is to go to the Olympia, and get top 12 at the Olympia. That would be the goal for me. I think that placing at the Olympia is a very big ask for anyone, and I will try my hardest to look the best that I can possibly be. But yeah, top 12 to top 10 in the Olympia in the next 5 years would be amazing.
Okay, great. For your road to the Olympia, a lot of luck. So, when are you competing, or when you're in off season? Do you think that motivation or inspiration is, or I think we don't need much motivation. So many people look for motivation to go to the gym, to do the diet, to do a prep. So I think Jordan does a video to this too. So that you don't need motivation. You have to push yourself if you have a goal and to want something really. So I don't think that we need a motivation from other people. I more think that this is an inspiration, that we have some athletes that will be an inspiration for us. So what is your opinion on this, to motivation and inspiration?
Yeah, so I think that I definitely have people who inspire me to be better, or that I really look up to, whether that be in life or in business, or in bodybuilding, like the bodybuilder that I look up to, really, well, two people, is Kuba or Corin.
Yeah.
They're very, everything is done with absolute precision, whether that be waking up time, when they have their meals, when they do their work, what they put into their training. I think for me to be around that, it really inspires me to think, yeah, someone else is really pushing themselves. But motivation, that's generally, or not generally, has got to come from within you. If every top level bodybuilder, I believe, their motivation comes from within themselves, not from anything else. I think that if it comes from anything else, bodybuilding's not the sport for them, because it's very individual to themselves sport. As much as you can surround yourself with people, if you haven't got it within you, you will not be successful. So yeah, I think that motivation and inspirations are very, very different. I think that you can be inspired by somebody, but you don't need them to be motivated. You have to be motivated yourself.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, and I want to say 200% too. So I have the one on the last question from Instagram. It's about posing. What do you prefer, or what do you think? How often per week or per day do you say it's to practicing your routine or your posing?
Yeah, so in off season, I used to practice my posing after every training session. So I would take 20 minutes after I finished my strength training and go and do my posing. I also, my bikini competitor, the lady does my bikinis, my bikini sponsor, also used to every rest day each week. So one of my rest days in off season, she would take me into the studio, make me do rounds of posing where I held my poses for 30 seconds. We would do lots of walking, and that was in the off season. In competition prep, every morning I get up and I do my posing. And then also after every training session, I do my posing. So yeah, I think it's, when you get on stage, if you've got a really good physique, but you can't show that off well, then there's no point in being on stage. So I think that training, posing, eating are the three main components when it comes to bodybuilding, and you should put as much into all three of those as you do to any one of them.
Yeah. So you would say it's so it's important to pose so many times per week what is possible.
Yes, definitely.
And do you think it's only to doing your 4 poses or your 1 round, or would you say it's you have to hold, like you're saying, 15 seconds, doing 4 or 5 rounds, or for 15 minutes? Do you have okay, that's individual, but would you say it's important, if you're posing, to do it for a special time, or to doing more than only 1 round? Or
I think it's important to do it more than 1 round, just because when you're on stage, you will do more than 1 round, and they will make you hold it for a good 15 to 30 seconds each pose. So yeah, I think that it's really important to do that. It's also important to find kind of whatever class you're in. So I had the bikini posing before. I found a pose that was almost like a resting pose that worked really well for me, so that then I could hold that at the side of the stage, and it was something different to show. I also have a couple of poses now that aren't in the set 4 that I can implement into my what's it called? My posing routine. So I think it's just really important to learn poses that aren't part of the set routine, so that you've got something different to show when you are doing kind of your eye walk or your routine or at the side of the stage. And then it's very important to be able to hold those for a good time without sweating.
Yeah, that's true. So, and you are practicing your posing for your own, or do you have a posing coach also?
So I have had a few people that input into my posing. So Rosie Rascal, who was an IFBB Pro physique competitor,
Mm-hmm.
he does a lot of my posing. I also have my bikini sponsor that's been in the game for that long that she knows what positions I need to be in to be able to showcase my physique well. And then Cuba has a lot of input into my posing, and they're the three people that I trust. Prior to this, when I was doing bikini, I had Helen Panther, who did a lot of my posing, who also taught me how to transition really well and how to walk really well. And I've been able to implement that into my posing routine. I think it's finding people who you do trust to make you look the best, and then sticking with those people. But right now, when I'm doing my posing, Cuba just looks over it.
Okay, cool. So, Meg, at this point, I have no questions right now. So, but it was a very big experience for me and an honor for me to talk with you. And from my side, I wish you and Cuba a lot of luck and a very beautiful experience for Alicante. And I hope everything going well.
Very much.
Yeah, and yeah, it was beautiful with you. I have a lot of fun, and thank you for your time for me.
Thank you. And I hope that all of your training and bodybuilding goes well too.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And yeah, for everyone who wants to see you, I will link your profile on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you too, Meg. Have a nice day, beautiful weekend, and a good training.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.